Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hello, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, welcome. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the form of worship of God for the time we're living in, is this chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The Maha Mantra especially. We can see how difficult it is. Like in other ages, bygone ages, temple worship, very elaborate deity worship in the temple, real gold, real silver, big structures. That was the method of worship of God, was temples, deities, but not in this age. Like we can see how difficult it is now just to maintain a few temples around the world. The government steps in, the virus, you can't, in some places they close the doors even. And some countries don't even allow that kind of worship. Communist countries or countries that have their own religion, and other religions aren't allowed. Hare Krishna. It's just not the age for big elaborate. We have opportunity to worship deities in temples, but it's just a little remnant. It's just to help us. Because the actual form of worship is this holy names, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. That's the actual process. That's the sacrifice. In other ages, they did big sacrifices. They would get all kinds of huge amounts of ghee because there was lots of cows that weren't being killed and eaten. It's Kali. It's the age of Kali Yuga. They would do big sacrifices and mantra chanting, and that was the form of serving and worshiping God. And the Brahmins had special powers. They could actually light the sacrificial fires by mantra. It was a kind of wood they would use, and they would chant the mantra in the fire for the sacrifice, just from mantra, just from sound. They were that powerful. It's not like that now. And in other ages, meditation was the form. Their lifespan was very long. They would live for thousands of years, actually. It's described in the Vedas. And we have some hint of that in the Old Testament of so-and-so lived for 990 years, somebody else lived for 660 years. They're not making it up. Lifespan was longer. Well, in some ages, the lifespan was thousands of years. And they could sit in meditation for thousands of years. People can't sit in meditation for more than 2 minutes. The atmosphere doesn't allow it. Even if you go someplace way off in the woods or somewhere, oh, here comes a drone, taking pictures. And the atmosphere is surcharged. All these satellites, everywhere. It's not Hare Krishna. It's not the age for that. It's the age for Harinam, the holy name. It's the age of the holy name. You can see it, how merciful God is, that's made approach to him so easy by the holy names. Lord Chaitanya, in his prayer, he says, how unfortunate I am. I have no taste for the chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. But the universe is conquered by this holy name. because it is the desire of the Lord to deliver the entire universe. And he's here in the form of this sound vibration. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. You want to serve God? Chant Hare Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, very simple. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa. Arrange your life in such a way that you can hear about Kṛṣṇa. Chant Krishna's names. Do some service for Kṛṣṇa. Use your body for Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Make friends with Kṛṣṇa. That's one of the principles of devotional service, is to make friends with Kṛṣṇa. Make friends with him. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Krishna is your friend. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa. And read a little something. Hear something about Kṛṣṇa from Krishna's pure devotee, Srila Vyasadeva, the compiler of the Bhagavatam. You're going to hear something from the Bhagavatam, the 10th canto. As presented by another pure devotee, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, in his summary study, making it accessible to us, because we don't read Sanskrit very well. So it's in story form. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Chana Balaba Girivaridhari. Gopi Chana Balaba Girivaridhari. Yasodanandana Raja Jana Randana. Yasodanandana Raja Jana Randana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, absorbed in the mood of separation. Hare Krishna. That's how we approach Krishna, is through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All right, we've got a lot going for us. We've got Srila Vyasadeva, we have Lord Chaitanya, we have Srila Prabhupada, and we have the devotees, the sadhus. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And we have a few madmen in the mix. Krishna. This is chapter 51. Kṛṣṇa, the Ranchor, not the Rancher, the Ranchor. We'll find out what that means, what a Ranchor is. Kṛṣṇa has just led the Kali Yavana, the Yavana king, into the cave where Muchukunda was taking rest. Muchukunda had the benediction to burn to ashes anyone that woke him untimely, because he was given benediction by the demigods to sleep for a long time. So Kali Yavana went in, thought it was Kṛṣṇa, kicked him. Muchukunda woke up and zap, finished. Fire came out of his eyes. So Kṛṣṇa did two things at the same time. He had Kali Yavana destroyed without having to even deal with him, and he gave benediction to Muchukunda, which really, it's all about Krishna's relationship with his devotees. And the demons he can take care of in any number of ways, but when his devotees are being disturbed, then Kṛṣṇa can step in personally. The reason Kṛṣṇa had Kali Yavana destroyed like that was because Kali Yavana was attacking Mathura, where all Krishna's family and his devotees were all in Mathura. So he couldn't have that. But he didn't deal with him directly. He had Muchukunda destroy him, and Muchukunda did service. When Muchukunda did that, he did service, and he got the darshan of the Lord. He saw him in his four-armed form, and received the benediction that wherever he went in this life, he would always be in awareness and full consciousness and devotion to Kṛṣṇa. And in the next life, he would go back to Godhead. So it's a wonderful benediction. So now that's been accomplished. And the Lord assured King Muchukunda, in your next life, you will take your birth as a first-class Vaishnava, the best of Brahmanas, and in that life your only business will to be engage yourself in my transcendental service. And then Prabhupada comments, the Vaishnava is the first-class Brahmana because one who has not acquired the qualification of a bona fide Brahmana cannot come to the platform of a Vaishnava. So a Vaishnava is already a Brahmana. A Vaishnava is already liberated. They don't have to seek for liberation separately. They're already liberated. They're already on the topmost first-class human being, the Brahmana, one who knows Brahman. When one comes to the platform of a Vaishnava, he's completely engaged in welfare activities for all living entities. When one comes to the platform of a Vaishnava, he is completely engaged in welfare activities for all living entities. So, what is that welfare activity? It's not material welfare activity necessarily. Prabhupada explains the highest welfare activity for living entities is the preaching of Kṛṣṇa consciousness. That solves all the problems. Kṛṣṇa solves all the problems. Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa. It is stated herein that those who are specifically favored by the Lord can become absolutely Kṛṣṇa conscious and be engaged in the preaching work of the Vaishnava philosophy. Those who are favored by the Lord, like Muchukunda was favored by Kṛṣṇa, they can become absolutely Kṛṣṇa conscious and be engaged in preaching work. That's really significant, to be favored by the Lord. The Lord is pleased with the devotee. It's not by like our own, in some mechanical way, becoming something. It's not like that. It's when the Lord is pleased with the devotee, with the devotee's love, with the devotee's desire to please the Lord. The Lord is attracted to that and become the Lord's friend. That's what Krishna says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, that I am telling you this most confidential knowledge about myself and about how everything works, giving you this transcendental knowledge which will set you free from the material world. I'm giving you this knowledge because you're my devotee and you're my friend. He was pleased with Arjuna's devotional mood of friendship. He's Krishna's friend. So I can tell you this knowledge. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, Kṛṣṇa the Ranchor. When Muchukunda, the celebrated descendant of the Ikshvaku dynasty, was favored by Lord Krishna, he circumambulated the Lord within the cave and then came out. On coming out of the cave, Muchukunda saw that the stature of the human species had surprisingly been reduced to pygmy size. Similarly, the trees had also far reduced in size, and Muchukunda could understand immediately that the current age was Kali Yuga. Therefore, without diverting his attention, he began to travel north. So that's interesting. That was 5,000 years ago when Krishna went in the cave, and that was the beginning of the Kali Yuga. I remember I was traveling with my parents when I was very young. I don't know. They used to like to travel. They didn't have any money, but we'd all get in the car and we'd go like across country, sleep in the car. They just wanted to go and see the world. And I remember we went to one museum. It was somewhere, I think it was in the Midwest somewhere, where they had the coat of arms of some of the soldiers from the Middle Ages. Charlemagne's coat of arms. And it was huge. I mean, the person that wore that was at least 7 feet tall and huge. So that's one of the things that happens in this age, is that people are reduced, their physical is reduced, their intelligence is reduced, everything's reduced. Their age span is reduced, everything's reduced in this age. So when Muchukunda came out of the cave, he'd been in there a long time, he could see, like when you see you have one of the clocks that goes like this, and if you watch it, it doesn't even look like it's moving. If it doesn't have a second hand, it doesn't look like it's moving. But if you look at it and then you glance away for a little while and then you look back, oh, it moved. So the age of Kali Yuga is advancing, and actually it appears to be at an accelerated rate right now, but that's what Muchukunda noticed. He saw that the stature of the human species had surprisingly been reduced to what he considered pygmy size. That's us, 5,000 years later. Similarly, the trees had also far reduced in size, and Muchukunda could immediately understand that the current age was Kali Yuga. Therefore, without diverting his attention, he began to travel north. Eventually, he reached the mountain known as Gandhamadana. It appeared that there were many trees on this mountain, such as sandalwood and other flower trees, the flavor of which made anyone joyful who reached them. He decided to remain in that Gandhamadana mountain region in order to execute austerities and penances for the rest of his life. It appears that this place is situated in the northernmost part of the Himalayan mountains, where the abode of Narayan is situated. His place is still existing and is called Badarik Ashram. In Badarik Ashram, he engaged himself in the worship of Lord Kṛṣṇa, forgetting all pain and pleasure in the other dualities of this material world. Lord Kṛṣṇa also returned to the vicinity of the city of Mathura and began to fight with the soldiers of Kalyanava and kill them one after another. After this, he collected all the booty from the dead bodies, and under his direction it was loaded on bullock carts by big men and brought back to Dwarka. So he has erected the fort in Dwarka. And we understand that evidently the Dwarka fort was within the district of Mathura. Meanwhile, Jarasandha again attacked Mathura. And this time with bigger number of soldiers, numbering 23 Akshahinis. So this is the 18th time Jarasandha, he's been defeated, everything destroyed 17 times. He's coming back for that 18th time. What was it? Albert Einstein, he said, insanity can be defined as doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So we can understand Jarasandha is absolutely crazy. Complete. It's crazy to attack Kṛṣṇa even once. That's crazy. But 17 times? He's completely mad. He's completely crazy. So here he is, the 18th time. Lord Kṛṣṇa wanted to save Mathura from the 18th attack of the great military divisions of King Jarasandha. In order to prevent further killing of soldiers and to attend to other important business, Lord Kṛṣṇa left the battlefield without fighting. Actually, he was not at all afraid, but he pretended to be an ordinary human being, frightened by the immense quantity of soldiers and resources of Jarasandha. Without any weapons, he left the battlefield. Although his lotus feet were as soft as the petals of the lotus flower, he proceeded for a very long distance on foot. Oh, yeah, sorry you're having trouble with the connection. Hare Kṛṣṇa. We do the best we can, and we're really fortunate to have what we do have. As much as there are difficulties with it, technical difficulties, we're really fortunate to have this way to communicate amongst the devotional community. It's Kṛṣṇa. That's the whole reason the whole thing was created. Is to facilitate Kṛṣṇa. Hare Kṛṣṇa. It's clear to me. Hare Kṛṣṇa. This time, Jarasandha thought that Kṛṣṇa and Balaram were very much afraid of his military strength and were fleeing from the battlefield. He began to follow them with all his chariots, horses, and infantry. He thought Kṛṣṇa and Balaram to be ordinary human beings, and he was trying to measure the activities of the Lord. Kṛṣṇa is known as Ranchor, which means one who has left the battlefield. In India, especially in Gujarat, there are many temples of Kṛṣṇa, which are known as the temples of Ranchorji. Ordinarily, if a king leaves the battlefield without fighting, he's called a coward. But when Kṛṣṇa enacts this pastime, leaving the battlefield without fighting, he's worshipped by the devotee. A demon always tries to measure the opulence of Kṛṣṇa, whereas the devotee never tries to measure his strength and opulence, but always surrenders unto him and worships him. A demon always tries to measure the opulence of Kṛṣṇa, whereas that means limit, measure, you're trying to limit. Whereas the devotee never tries to measure or limit his strength and opulence, always surrenders unto him and worships him. By following the footsteps of pure devotees, we can know that Kṛṣṇa, the Ranchor, did not leave the battlefield because he was afraid, but because he had some other purpose. The purpose, as it will be revealed, was to attend to a confidential letter sent by Rukmini, his future first wife. Hey, forget this fighting stuff. I'm looking at my first wife, my first queen. Yeah, the heck with you. You want to fight? Eh. I got this letter from this Rukmini. She's the goddess of fortune. The act of Kṛṣṇa leaving the battlefield is a display of one of his 6 opulences. Kṛṣṇa is the supreme powerful, the supreme wealthy, the supreme famous, the supreme wise, the supreme beautiful. Similarly, he's the supreme renouncer. Srimad Bhagavatam clearly states that he left the battlefield in spite of having ample military strength. Even without his militia, however, he alone would have been sufficient to defeat the army of Jarasandha, which he did the first time Jarasandha attacked Kṛṣṇa, defeated him single-handedly, and killed all his soldiers too, as he had done 17 times before. Thank you. I love it when that happens, when I see it, and then there it is confirmed. I love it when that happens. He had done that 17 times before, single-handedly defeated the whole army. Therefore, his leaving the battlefield is an example of his supermost opulence of renunciation, which is a little humorous, because usually we think of human renunciation in terms of attachment to women. Renounced life. Nothing to do with women, money, or wealth. But here, renunciation, he left because he was attached to a woman. Not an ordinary woman, of course, but because Rukmini sent him a letter, so he just, fighting, doop, forget it. The real, true understanding of renunciation is found in relationship to Kṛṣṇa. So you got this letter from Rukmini, and after traversing a very long distance, the brothers pretended to become very tired. To mitigate their weariness, they climbed up a very high mountain, several miles above the sea. This mountain was called Pravarshana due to constant rain. The peak was always covered with clouds sent by Indra. Jarasandha took it for granted that the 2 brothers were afraid of his military power and had hidden themselves at the top of the mountain. First he tried to find them, searching for a long time, but when he failed, he decided to trap and kill them by setting fires around the peak. He therefore surrounded the peak with oil and set it on fire. As the blaze spread more and more, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram jumped from the top of the mountain down to the ground, a distance of 88 miles. They jumped from the top of the mountain to the ground, 88 miles, with a fire that had been set all around the whole mountain. Kṛṣṇa. Thus, while the peak was burning up, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram escaped without being seen by Jarasandha. Jarasandha concluded that the 2 brothers had been burnt to ashes and there was no need of further fighting. Thinking him successful in his efforts, he left the city of Mathura and returned to his home in the kingdom of Magadha. Gradually, Kṛṣṇa and Balaram reached the city of Dwarka, which was surrounded on all sides by the sea. Following this, Shri Balaram married Revati, the daughter of King Raivata, ruler of the Ranchor province. This is explained in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. After the marriage of Baladev, Kṛṣṇa married Rukmini. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmaka, ruler of the province known as Vidarbha. Just as Kṛṣṇa is the Supreme Personality, Vasudeva, Rukmini is the Supreme Goddess of Fortune, Mahalakshmi. According to the authority of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the expansion of Kṛṣṇa and Sri Radharani is simultaneous. Kṛṣṇa expands himself into various Vishnu tattva forms, and Srimati Radharani expands herself into various Shakti tattva forms by her internal potency as multi-forms of the Goddess of Fortune. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Srimati Radharani is an expansion. Srimati Rukmini Devi is an expansion of Radharani, just as Kṛṣṇa in Dwarkadish, is an expansion of Kṛṣṇa in Vrindavan. Because those Vrindavan pastimes, they are specific to Kṛṣṇa and Radharani. That's those pastimes. He never leaves Vrindavan. Those pastimes are always going on Radha Kṛṣṇa. When he expands, because he has other activities to do, other pastimes and other leelas, Raj Leela is the topmost. But the others are expanded from it, and when he expands as Kṛṣṇa in Mathura, and then Kṛṣṇa in Dwarka, he takes the wife, Radharani, Rukmini Devi, and some other queens also. But they're all expansions of Radharani. The gopis also are all expanded in Braj Leela. All the gopis are actually expansions of Radharani to increase the pleasure of Kṛṣṇa. We understand in the Rasa Leela, when that's performed, then Kṛṣṇa expands as lots of Krishnas to be with each of the gopis who are all expanded from Radharani, and each one thinks that she's just with Kṛṣṇa. Hare Krishna. That's why they call Kṛṣṇa the supreme enjoyer. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Radha is his pleasure potency, and when he manifests the Dwarka Leela, then Radha expands as the queens for that Leela. So that's why the queens can't enter Vraj, because they're not part of that Leela. Hare Krishna. And there's a lot going on in Chaitanya Leela. There's a lot going on there that is just really inconceivable because of the mood of separation of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's wide open. Braj Leela is wide open. And even the queens are taking part. I believe one of the devotees, Jagadish, is actually an incarnation of one of Krishna's queens. So the Chaitanya Leela is, in one sense, it's a mess. It's a mess. One of the sons of Shivananda Shain has compiled a who's who, Gaura Ganadesh Deepika, who's who in Chaitanya Leela, and everybody's in there. They come from everywhere. The demigods are there. They've come from Vaikuntha. They've come from everywhere. And what's really amazing is this pastime of Kṛṣṇa, when he's in the mood of Radha and separation, is taking place in Vraj. It's taking place in Vrindavan, in Vraj. It's Vraj Leela. Navadvipa is non-different from Vrindavan. And because of this pastime of Gauranga, everyone has access. Vishnu's there, Mahavishnu's there, Lord Shiva's there, the gopis are there, everybody's there. It's Chaitanya Leela. And that's what we have. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, I put all my potencies in my holy name alone. So in the worst age, this age of Kali Yuga is a terrible age. Nothing is, it's just a horrible place. The highest thing is available just in the holy name. And hearing about Krishna, hearing and chanting. Sankirtan. It's amazing. It gets more and more amazing all the time. So, according to the authority of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the expansion of Krishna and Sri Radharani is simultaneous. Krishna expands himself into Vishnu forms, and Radharani expands herself into Shakti Tattva forms by her internal potency as multi-forms of the goddess of fortune. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Wow. Okay, so then I'm going to go on and describe what the marriage was like. And they want to hear about, how Krishna kidnaps Rukmini. Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Rama, Hare Hare. I was in a little group not too long ago, and we were just sitting in someone's backyard, and we were chanting Hare Krishna, kartals, drums, and one of the devotees started chanting an old tune, an old melody that I remember we used to chant a lot. It's like, it's hard to do it alone because it was like, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. It's hard to describe, but it's super responsive. In other words, when the leader of the kirtan goes Hare Krishna, then the others join in and go Hare Krishna. And then he goes Hare Krishna again, and then the others go Hare Krishna. And then he goes Krishna, Krishna, and they go Krishna, Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. So it's like super responsive because he pauses and he waits for, after each Hare Krishna, they go Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Anyway, we used to do that a lot. It was fun. It's super responsive. And because it is so responsive, and I started listening to the mantra itself, which Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The mantra itself is super, it's like there's hearing and chanting within the mantra itself. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. remember it was in the 70s and I had just joined the temple. And I heard that in the mantra. And I got kind of crazy. I was running through the halls, this new bhakti, running through the halls going, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. It's like going like cuckoo house, you know. And the temple president, he said, hold it. He said, hold it, slow down. I was like going crazy. He said, you know, you got to keep it under control. If you don't, we're going to have to, you know, put you in a mental hospital or something. And then stopped me. Immediately became ecstatic hearing that. This powerful mantra composed of the holy names of God. When they're combined like that, oh, Krishna, so merciful. Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan, Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prime benediction for humanity at large. The Sankirtan movement. Hare Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda.